Hey, this is Joe Cook. For the past 15 years, Ragamuffin Archive has been on a mission to preserve and share rare and unreleased recordings from Rich Mullins and a Ragamuffin band, as well as the artists who worked with them or were influenced by them. And now, I want to invite you to join me for Ragamuffin Archive Revisited, a weekly podcast where we dig into our archives and beyond to share great music and moments that you may have missed. Each week, we take a deep dive through Ragamuffin history to share background info on some of your favorite songs and iconic performances. And there's a good chance that you'll discover new artists or maybe even a Rich Mullins recording that you've never heard before. It's Ragamuffin Archive Revisited, streaming on Mixcloud with the Mixcloud app or at mixcloud.com/ragamuffinarchive or on our website at ragamuffinarchive.com. And join us every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for a listening party by clicking the Live tab on our homepage.
Hey guys, this is Eric Hauk. I'm really honored and excited to share with you about Beggarman Ministries. This is a transition home that we run in Wichita, Kansas, and the goal of our house is to provide a safe place for men to get back up. We have men who have been a part of our program that are coming out of rehab or prison, jail, homelessness, and we want to be a safe place that tells them through actions and words that there is hope and there is a possibility of restoration through healthy community and through Christ. We seek to provide jobs and transportation and empower them to get back up. If you want to support us or find out more about what we're doing, we could use lots of help because we're learning what we're doing as we go. You can check out our website at www.beggarmanministries.org. Continue to pray for us. We need help, but we are thankful that we can provide a safe place to offer hope to those who are in need. Thanks for listening. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Eric and my homeboy. Do you want me to call you homeboy?
Sure.
Can I call you homeboy?
That's
All right.
fine.
This is Eric and my homeboy Sprinkle.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
We're here for our official first episode of our podcast, Life from the Bottom Rung, The Thoughts of a Beggarman. And we're so glad you tuned in. A couple things as our opening disclaimer as you listen in, and Sprinkle can chime in at any time and correct what I say. But here's the deal. We wanted to just share our thoughts, our opinions on life, kind of our perspective. And the idea that we stem from on this show is that really we want to look at life from the bottom up. And that we really are just beggars, all of us, showing other beggars where we have found bread, where we found hope. And ain't one of us any better than anyone else. And each of us, each of you listening, has intrinsic value and worth simply because of your Creator. And none of us were created to walk alone. And we overcome our journey of life together. And we find power by being able to be honest in the midst of our weaknesses and our struggles. So we're glad that you tuned in, and we hope that you know that there is hope in your journey no matter how dark the storm, because we've been given hope. And this life we live is a goofy, beautiful mess full of unexpected turns. And hopefully we can learn and laugh together a little bit as we share a little bit of our perspective. Does that sound about right, Sprinkle?
That's good.
Yep. So the truth is that Sprinkle and I we ain't pastors, we're not theology dudes, we ain't teachers. We really are just a couple of messy human dudes who have weathered some of life and would like to offer some hope that we could share with some of our fellow beautifully confusing human messes who might be listening, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is it's, I don't think it's us versus them. I think it's us and them.
There you go. So anyway, that's kind of what we're about here as we share life from the bottom rung. And this is our first official podcast. The theme of today, we want to talk about, ready? Self-sabotage. Oh my goodness, how I can become my own worst enemy. And so we're going to talk about two things today. And we would love for this podcast to be as much as possible conversational, meaning if you have thoughts or comments, we'd love for you to comment wherever you hear this at. But we have two main questions for you to ponder that we're going to discuss today. One is, what are your self-sabotaging habits or beliefs, and can you identify those? And then two, what are things that help you cope or overcome or heal in a healthy way? So the reason I wanted to share that today as part of our podcast is because I wanted to tell you what led up to today. man, this morning, Sprinkle and I, as we sit here in his, what do we call this? Your studio?
The Love Shack.
Oh, that's right. This is Sprinkle's Love Shack. It's got this purple hue of depth to it. But as I was getting ready today, man, I woke up, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but man, I am such my own worst enemy, and I can do the very thing that poisons or sabotages my own success or my own life. And so let me paint the picture for today in preparation.
Great.
Right? Okay. So
and I have my own picture, by the way, that I have not told you yet.
Oh, yeah?
So
Okay.
I had a different experience this morning.
Oh, well, good. So this is full disclosure why we're looking at life from the bottom rung.
Yes.
Because that's where I started today.
Likewise, but from a different bottom rung.
There you go.
I guess we'll say.
Man, so set my alarm for 6 a.m. because I have so many things to do today, so many goals I want to accomplish. So I wake up, alarm goes off at 6 a.m., I hit snooze, then it goes off at 6:05, and I grab my phone, and I tell myself, I'm just going to check my messages real quick, and then I'm going to get right to it. So I grab my phone, and I start looking at messages that came in on Instagram from my posts that I have from our new nonprofit. So I'm looking, and before I know it, I am 2 hours into laying there doing nothing but scrolling. And it was like I was stuck in this poisonous pattern of just one video after another. And I was unable to stop. It was like I was locked. And it was really like this addictive behavior of like seriously losing this battle to my phone. And I sabotaged my entire morning because it was 8 o'clock. And the only reason I quit is because our dog was waking me up. He had to go out. And so I finally stopped. But man, I needed to get up and I had all these things to do. And I spent 2 hours. And then I felt this overwhelming sense of like self-disappointment or shame or like I wasted that time. And then I feel this internal panic of, oh my gosh, I wasted that time. I got to pick it up and make it up. And dude, I just started my whole day with this sense of failure because I was unable to get out of my own cycle, right?
I can dig that, but my day was different.
Yeah?
My alarm was at 4:30.
4:30 a.m. Why? Why so early?
Because I deal with things through work.
Okay.
I clock in and I do my stuff, so by the time you were done diddling on your phone, I was done with a couple of projects.
Wow. See, you're
but
making
that's
me
not
feel
a good
bad.
thing. No, that's not a good thing.
Okay.
That's a thing to say that I've been overwhelmed with all the other stuff right now.
Yeah.
And so I go like, I'll just go clock in and do some stuff. And getting up early is good. Or getting up early is not good. I should rest.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right?
Sure.
So today, my day started chaotically too, but in a completely different way. I was up and doing things, and it was just to deal with stuff that's been going on without dealing with it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Well, that's at least you were getting something done. I was scrolling, dude. But what I recognize is that I have this ability to be so disgusted with myself, and that I just didn't get things done, and so I feel this sense of like defeat or just riddled with self-shame. So then we get ready. I knew I was going to come over here to do this first podcast, and I thought, no, I need to take some time to journal. So I sit down on my computer when I'm finally up. And I see a message on Facebook, so I click it, and it's this notification that says, one of the best ways to finish the year is to make a list of all your memories for the year and share it with your family.
Yes. Facebook would say that.
Yeah. So then I start going, ooh, that's fun. So in my total distracted, already disgusted state of mind, I go, maybe I can look at January of last year and just come up with some memories that make myself feel better. So an hour and a half later, I have spent the whole hour and a half looking at memories of our 2024. And then
it's super weird. You were alive last year and taking photos on your phone?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know, man.
You're unique.
I'm trapped and stuck in the cycle is what I am, man. But anyway, man, like what I realized is that this morning and until it was noon, and I realized I had not gotten hardly anything done. And I was so covered in just defeated, like loathing of myself. Then I felt this panic. And I thought, man, I am sabotaging my own day. And I'm my own worst enemy because I just can't get things done that I need to do. And I had a whole list. So I thought that I would just start our first podcast with self-disclosure that I am a chaotic mess. And I don't know if those of you listening have ever experienced that, but this idea of I sabotaged my own sense of peace and my own life because of my own unhealthy behaviors. And I listed 4 self-sabotaging behaviors so that I thought I could share.
Sure,
today.
yeah.
That's kind of where we're going anyway. And in hopes that those of you listening can go, yep, I've been there, and then maybe can help me. So think through what are your behaviors, and then what are ways that help you. But so there's 4 things that I listed. So everybody ready? The first thing is just that to me, it's the addictive inability to quit that which poisons me most. And it's the addictive part of my life. And this morning it was, man, right now, the battle of my cell phone. And self-disclosure, man, I was locked in that. And that's that addiction of I can't stop. And I knew I had to get up. And I just couldn't do it. And when that happens, I waste time. And then I end up operating out of panic and out of defeat. And then the people closest to me, now my wife, they are the ones who have to overfunction to take care of my failures. And it's that addictive cycle.
Let's dig into that for a second. So when you say they have to overfunction, you mean that they have to deal with the fact that you wasted all that time.
Yeah. And then my panic of like, oh man, I got these things to do that I didn't finish.
Right.
Or, for example, I was thinking, what's an example of this? Well, just last night, my wife and I are talking, and she says, in a very loving way, basically, honey, you've been such a whirlwind of activity that I've had to do all the Christmas shopping for us.
Yeah.
And you didn't really help. And she was right. I've been this panic chaos of doing things last minute because of sabotaging my own sense of peace that I was not really able to help her very much do the Christmas shopping. And that sense of like failure of, dude, you're right. And so she had to overfunction because of my addictive behaviors that led to panic and stress,
Right. Yep. That's a real thing because you don't overfunction sometimes feel like somebody running into a flaming car wreck. But sometimes it can just feel like, oh, I had to go to the grocery.
Yeah, because you didn't.
Right.
Yeah. And my wife is an artist, an amazing artist. And for those of you listening, her Instagram is alleycatart7. She does pet portraits. She's awesome. But anyway, she does these shows, and I like to make frames for her artwork out of wood and old rustic wood. But her last show, there's nothing worse than coming home the day that she had to deliver her artwork. And she says, hey, do you have those frames that you said you'd have for me a month ago? And I had to say, nope, I am so sorry I didn't get them done. And so that feeling of disappointment that because of my panic or my last minute or what I call my unhealthy addictive behavior has led to me not getting done the very thing I said I would, right?
Right. And you're not, that's not one of those things where you're like, oh, I'll just knock that out real quick.
No, man. Yeah. So anyway, that cycle of addiction for me, man, is something that I've dealt with for years that leads to wasting of time and not finishing things I said I would and not being able to keep promises. And so on this first podcast, Thoughts from the Bottom Rung, the truth is that's one of mine, is that addictive cycle. And honestly, for me, I've had to deal with binge watching on Netflix and in the past over drinking to cope with escaping or, those addictions that you try to escape. It's even sometimes for me in the past, I've had to deal with porn and how to not dive into that to escape. And so these addictive behaviors for me have sabotaged my own sense of peace and growth. And so in self-disclosure, I thought, let's start this first episode with saying, hey, sometimes we need to recognize those in order to heal. And so I'm sharing this first podcast out of my own sense of disgust at myself and recognizing those behaviors, man.
Welcome to Self-Disgust.
There you go.
Episode 1.
Episode 1, that's right. Man, it's kind of like that. What it reminds me of is that passage in Romans 7 where Paul is like, I do the very thing that I know I shouldn't do.
Right.
And even though I know it's hurting me or know that it's wrong, I keep doing it. And I can't stop. I mean, that's self-sabotage.
Right.
Or
and one of my sleep problems is just I just have these ridiculously horrible nightmares, and then my wife will go like, "Well, what are you taking in? Like, what are you listening to?" Because I always have an earplug in when I'm going to sleep, and it's always a true crime show. And she's like, "Well, gosh, I wonder why you're dreaming about murder."
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're listening to true crime shows. So, yeah. So,
yeah. Well,
I'm kind of dumb.
You're not. Well, maybe you are, but you're handsome. He's handsome. Just imagine.
I'm handsome and dumb.
Well, that makes one of us. At least you're handsome. Anyway, yeah. So the other things I thought I'd share is just for me, some of the sabotaging that might be part of your journey that I deal with is the internal beliefs or lies that I carry from early on in my life. And I think we'll do another podcast about the internal narratives, what drives us.
Sure, yeah.
We'll do that on another episode. But, I carry these internal beliefs that interactions with people, I interpret them through my own belief, whether it's for me believing that I'm too much, people are going to eventually want me out of their life, or believing that I missed the mark, or I'm a failure as a dad or as a husband, believing that I'm going to make the same mistakes as my own father and be just like him, believing that I'm not really that important and I have to make a lot of waves and noise to be heard or noticed, and just on these narratives and lies that I believe that have sabotaged my ability to just process the situation in a healthy perspective. So for those of you listening, I just wonder, what are some of your self-sabotaging behaviors or beliefs that you can identify? Because I think identifying them is the first step. And then what helps you in your journey? Coincidentally, part of each podcast, I think we want to reference some music, because Sprinkle and I are both musicians, sort of. And I wrote a song years ago called Stepping Still. And it's on one of my first albums called Dusty Little Feet. So we might play that as part of the podcast. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Let's do that now. Let's just play it.
You want to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you listening, this song is called Stepping Still, and it deals with this journey of doing the things that we know we shouldn't be doing that sabotage us. But either way, we're trying to take steps, but we're not getting anywhere. So here is Stepping Still.
again. I confess again to what I swore I'd never ever do again. This vicious cycle that I fight, it's right then wrong, then wrong, then right, with no headway toward the path of light. I can't overcome my own flesh, though I'm trying to step closer to the one who makes me whole. But these so divided feet follow my so divided soul. It's one step into daylight and the next one into twilight. Oh, these feet are moving, I'm not gaining ground, I'm stepping still. You've paid the price to bring us hope, to bring us life. It's you who keeps stepping still. You are stepping still. You keep stepping.
Welcome back. That song was recorded in 1999, and
Wow.
well, it was a cool experience. But I'll tell a story. Maybe one of the podcast episodes will be miracle stories of
dig it.
of maybe how, like, unexpected ways that God has provided.
Yeah.
Kinda cool, huh? Because He's done some cool things in my life that'd be fun to share.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, anyway, so you think about self-sabotaging. We all have it on some level. But before we close, I wanted to talk about what helps me and have you think about what are ways that you can find some help or healing as we identify, man, we all have behaviors or habits that we need support in. So I was thinking through, there's 4 things that help me the most. And ironically, this last one, I just started this about 6 months ago. And what it is every day, I try to anyway, I review like verses from the Bible, and I call them my memory verses. And I write them on little note cards, and I like scroll through them like flashcards, like trying to remember my times tables. But man, I'll tell you, when my brain is spinning or my emotions are all out of whack, or I feel those familiar feelings of self-loathing or disgusted or panic, when I can stop and I review those verses, it's like I'm remembering what's true beyond my emotional experience in the moment. And even this morning, I was getting ready for this podcast, and as I told you, I was feeling that panic. So I stopped and I reviewed the verses. And for me, I'll tell you this morning, it was Psalm 90:17 says, "May the favor of the Lord our God rest upon us. Establish the work of our hands for us." Yes, establish the work of our hands. And to me, it was this prayer of like, man, God, would your favor rest upon me and establish the work of my hands? Like, guide me, because I'm too much of a mess to guide myself. And then the other one I reviewed this morning was Zephaniah 3:17, and it says, "The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love, and he will rejoice over you with singing." But this one, I read it somewhere, and so I found it and I wrote it down, and I review this one a lot. But that phrase in there in Zephaniah, and yes, people listening, there is a book called Zephaniah, but it says that the Lord will quiet you with his love. And man, that phrase, that hits me every time when I'm feeling panic or I'm feeling bad about myself. And I feel like it's this voice, this gentle whisper that's like, I will quiet you with my love. Meaning, basically, son, just shut up and relax and trust that I love you and I'm with you and I've got this and you're okay. Well, that verse has helped me over and over again to stop in what I'm feeling and just remind myself that God is going to quiet me with his love, man. And he's big enough to handle my chaos. He's strong enough to handle my tantrums, and he's capable enough to handle my failures when I sabotage my own journey, right? He's big enough for all that. And he basically says in love, son, I love you. I created you. So shut up and just rest and trust that I got this. In so many words. But anyway, so that's one for me. Memory verses really help me remember what's true. So in the discussion, if you have verses that help you, maybe let us know. Especially if they're from weird books, then you can teach Sprinkle about some other books of the Bible.
If you have anything from the Book of Hesitations, by all means, let us know. Because, man, I quote that book all the time.
The Book of Hesitations?
Yes.
Yeah. Sprinkle, you're treading very close to dad jokes right now. The Book of Fallopians or something like that. Isn't that a dad joke?
Fallopians? Did you say fallopians? I did. What? No, man, don't say that.
It's one of those dad jokes that like making fun of the Bible's books.
I know, but you can't quote body parts. Like, what is wrong with you?
I know, man. That's it. You gonna edit that out?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, I got three more. Second thing that helps me when I'm in that sabotaging behavior is confiding in those that I trust. I go to a recovery group every week to help be honest and have a safe place to talk. And so when I go and share with the dudes in my recovery group, that helps me process what I'm feeling and hear truth. So being able to talk about my failures, and that I don't have to be afraid that the dudes in the group are going to be afraid of hearing me, be honest, and I'm not going to get kicked out or fired. So confiding in those that I trust. The third thing is therapy, man. I've gone to counseling and therapy and helped me understand what's true and what's not true, and things like cognitive behavioral therapy and EMDR and theophostics. So maybe another one of these we can talk about the types of healing therapy that have helped me find healing from the lies that I've held that have sabotaged me. Okay, last thing that helps me is ironically just getting something done. One little thing, even if it's 15 minutes, but it helps me not feel like such a failure. So I've got this little weird habit. I have a super messy garage, which probably doesn't surprise anybody. But sometimes when I'm feeling super overwhelmed, I'll just go to the garage and just like pick one thing up and figure out where to put it. And just like getting one thing done helps me. So
yeah,
for me, it's coping by just getting something done. So anyway, those are some things in my life that have helped. So again, as you are listening, if there's things that you find helpful, we'd love to hear that from you. If you want to comment on ways that you are able to cope with this self-sabotaging and find healing or the ability to overcome, we'd love to hear that. And just remember that none of us can do this alone. And wherever you're at, I hope that you know that there's hope in your journey. We were not created to walk alone. And I'm only able to find hope and healing in my own regular weaknesses because I don't walk alone. So may you find hope in your journey and remember that there is the possibility of healing and overcoming. So thanks for listening. Lord bless you, and we will see you next time on Life from the Bottom Rung podcast, Thoughts of a Beggarman.